Okay. So thanks for meeting with me today, Trevor. If
Yeah.
you wouldn't mind just starting off and kind of introducing yourself and your position at One Gas.
Yeah, my name is Trevor Petway. I'm the supervisor of financial planning and analysis at One Gas, and earlier this year added some accounting and finance automation responsibilities to that. So I lead a team of planning analysts and have an automation analyst as well. On the planning side, we help build our financial guidance for the next year. And then once we build that guidance, issue it to investors, we benchmark against it throughout the rest of the year, track what expenses are coming in at compared to what we planned, and make any adjustments. Ask our management team what's changed, how we can kind of get a better feel for what the year is going to end up at. And then if those changes are material enough, we'll issue guidance updates for investors to say, hey, we're going to be at the high end of our range or at the low end of our range. Luckily, while I've been here, we've always gone to the high end of our range or affirmed our guidance. And then for automation, we work with all sorts of teams in accounting and finance to essentially look for ways to leverage technology and improve processes. Our teams do a really good job of improving processes um, on their own, but some teams, whether it's due to the volume of work or maybe some turnover or just maybe they might be engaged in a special project. Uh, they just find some opportunities for additional improvement. So that's what we do on the automation side. We kind of come at it from a primary accounting lens. So
Awesome. So, having been in a leadership role now for a few years, how would you describe your leadership style? And do you feel as though it's changed at all over the last few years?
yeah, I think one way it's changed is that I've gotten more comfortable asking my team to do things rather than doing it themselves, feeling the need to like get in the trenches with them. There's a time for it, but I've seen that most people are really eager and hungry to learn. So I've kind of shifted my style to be how can I teach people as much, whether it's technical or business information, that I can, so that they can produce at a high level. There are going to be times when we're busy and like I've got to dive into the trenches, into the details with them. But I really look for ways to expose more of my team to that.
Okay. The way that you go about teaching your different employees, does that change at all depending on which employee you're teaching or working with?
Yeah, I think it changes a lot based on like their their existing knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
um, whether it's how technically inclined are they, how much do they know about our business. I like to kind of take stock on like, okay, I don't want to set someone up for failure or frustration necessarily. I want to give them as much guidance as they need, while also giving them a chance to stretch and grow a little bit. So I'd say I try to like kind of tailor it to each person.
Awesome. How would you say you identify and develop potential leaders within your team?
I think key one key attribute that really differentiates whether someone's going to be a good fit for leadership is whether or not they want to lead people. Some people derive a lot of energy from engaging others and teaching others and motivating others, and some, will say like, "Hey, this drains me. This is frustrating to me that I'm now like responsible for keeping someone busy." Um,
Yeah.
so I think one thing that I look for in terms of like identifying potential leaders is how willing is someone else to go out of their way and like share what they know, coach up the team around them if they're peers or equals, or if we have an intern on the team, do they kind of take that person under their wing, show them the ropes, facilitate relationships, make them feel at home, kind of become the host for that person.
So how much would you say? of that is innate versus something that can be kind of developed and worked on over time?
I think a lot of it can be like people can develop it and work on it if they set their mind to it. I don't think people just have it or don't, but I think it's a skill that people need to be conscious of developing. You know,
Mm.
if that makes sense. I don't know, even though it might come more naturally for some people. I don't think it happens on accident. I think it happens at a high level when people make a conscious effort to say, I want to bring my best so that it rubs off on other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. So, how would you say you handle situations where you must make decisions with like incomplete or conflicting information?
I think, there's a lot of ambiguity in the planning realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that we tell people, I tell our team, is that we're allowed to get smarter, but today we're going to make the best decision with the information that we have, because that's the best that we can do. Um, so I think starting out with that, if you know that there's incomplete information, recognizing, hey, this is a situation where we've got incomplete information. Let's qualify that when we communicate our takeaways to my boss or their boss or any other team that we're working with. I think that's step one: know what you know what you don't know. Um, and then step two, it's making sure everyone who's involved in that decision has a chance to speak up, you know, because we want everyone's input, especially when we know that we have incomplete information, so that we've got all of our blind spots, or as many of our blind spots as possible, being looked out for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I'm sitting here trying to think of something to kind of push that a little further. So when you have maybe pushback from an employee or an equal, compared to, let's say, the opinion that you're pretty firm on, how do you go about kind of managing that relationship when maybe you're having to make a decision that dissents against the opinion of a colleague?
Yeah, I think finding areas where like we have aligned interests,
Mm-hmm.
like the decision that I want us to make is, in my mind, in the best interest of the organization, and here's why. But I have to know, even if you disagree with me or someone else disagrees with me, the decision that they want to make, they also believe is in the best interest of the organization. I think that's one thing. Level set. Hey, we're on the same team, um,
Mm-hmm.
and we're advocating for the same outcome. Even if we don't necessarily agree on the details on how to get there. I think that makes it easier to respect their point of view and honestly like hold my point of view a little more loosely.
Mm. I love that. Um, how would you say that you handle conflicts between team members within your department?
And luckily I haven't had to deal with very many conflicts within my own department.
Mm-hmm.
There have been like instances where like, hey, maybe there's an issue outside of the department, and it might not be antagonistic, but it's not pleasant. Either we did something and like they're not following through, or there was they thought there was some understanding that we were going to do something and we didn't interpret it that way. Um, so I think communication is key on like, hey, like what did you what did you want the outcome to be, and how did I fall short of it, or
Mm.
how did you fall short of it? um, and if we did, okay, let's do like an autopsy on the situation. Okay, what led to the communication breakdown, if that's what led to it? And is it something that we can, you know, improve going forward? Um, I think it kind of goes back to that, like, hey, we're on the same side, sort of thing. Um, if the reason for conflict came up, for anything besides that, then it would be typically some sort of like, hey, like you were rude, why were you rude, and honestly, luckily, like I'm thankful to say that like the people on my team directly and that we work with throughout the company generally aren't rude, you know. Uh, but
Yeah. No, I definitely agree there. Um,
maybe I'll have a
how would
different
you
answer in a few years. But
still too green
yeah,
to ruffle any feathers? How would you say you go about aligning your team's goals with the overall vision of the company?
I like to think about things from like a philosophical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll give the example like with automation. Whenever I started leading that group initiative in accounting and finance, Luke and I talked about, okay, like let's set out your goals for the year, my goals for the year, our goals for the year, and let's align those to the strategy map. We've got a strategy map at One Gas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
our leaders have done, I think, a really good job of removing some of the corporate jargon from it and making it something that's easy to relate to. One of the things on there is develop a high performing workforce. So it's like, okay, right off the bat, like the work we do can directly impact the degree to which we have a high performing workforce in the accounting and finance team at One Gas. So how can we like teach people about the tools that we have, and give them access uh, to data, to technology tools, to documentation, to our services, so that they can do work at a higher level. Um, I think kind of like boiling things down to like, okay, like why do we do this work? We might like the work, but we don't do it for fun. You know what I mean? We do it because someone somewhere thought that it would be valuable to have a budgeting team, to track our budget. Okay, so like that's going to help us be better stewards of our resources, and that's going to have very real impacts on how we perform financially, how investors respond to our financial guidance or our financial statements when we file for those, um, and for just overall financial literacy in the organization. You know, why do we have an automation team? Well, because we want to, you know, create an environment where like that's championed. Not just in one little silo, but throughout accounting and finance. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's great. And then I think the last question I have for you is, how do you measure success for yourself as a leader and then also for your team as a whole?
Yeah, really, I measure success, and I'm kind of learning right now. There's like a balance. Success for me looks like my team experiencing success, but I also like, the way a parent can't like absorb all the responsibility for their kid's success and failures, a supervisor can't absorb all the responsibility like for their team's success and failures. It's one of those like don't get too high, don't get too low type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I absorb their successes, I'm going to be feeling too good about myself. If I absorb their failures, then you know I'm gonna feel bad when they fail. When they don't need me to feel bad. They need me to correct them, or provide guidance.
Right.
So that's something I'm honestly still kind of learning as a new formal leader. I think for my team, it's going back to like the previous question. Why does this function exist in the organization, and how can we do it to the highest level possible? Um, our customers, internal, what do they want? Let's ask them. And then what can we deliver on?
Yeah, that's awesome.